welcome to this new course on Python with SQLite. Now, in this particular course, you will be understanding what is SQL and what is SQLite, how to program with SQLite. So, people who are familiar with databases, I'm sure that you must have at some point of time used SQL in some way or the other. Now, let us first talk about what we are going to cover in this particular course. In this particular SQLite3 course, we will see what is an RDBMS, what is SQL or structured query language. We'll briefly touch upon about some other databases. We'll also understand why do we need SQLite3 database. How can we integrate SQLite3 with Python? We'll do some hands-on coding exercises in SQLite3 and Python. We'll also understand what is the difference between SQLite3 and SQL Alchemy, which is another popular ORM. Now, if you are not familiar with databases and do not have a basic understanding of what RDBMS is or what is SQL, I would suggest you go through this following video. This particular video talks about the different database concepts that you need to be familiar with. As a prerequisite to this course, you should definitely check out this particular video. Now, just to briefly touch upon what SQL is, SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and RDBMS actually stands for Relational Database Management System. RDBMS is what is the basis for SQL and for other modern database systems like MS SQL Server or Oracle, MySQL, Microsoft Access, whatever it is. Now, SQL gives you a very handy way to access and manage the databases. Now, the way you can operate with databases is you could access certain information, you could retrieve information, you could do a lot of operations on databases. Now, it could vary. You could maybe execute queries which retrieve certain data from a database. You could update records in a particular table. You could insert or you could delete records. You could create new databases. You could create new tables in databases, or you could change the permissions in the different tables in various databases. So with SQL, you can do all possible things that you can think of with databases and tables. Now, what exactly is a table? So this is a structure within which you store the data. A table is nothing but a collection of related data entries, and it basically contains columns and rows. Now, every table is broken into smaller groups of objects called fields. The fields in a particular table could contain different things. Like if you're looking at a customer table, you could have things like the customer ID, the customer name, his contact information, his address, the city, the state, the zip code, and a lot of different other things. Now, a field is a column in a particular table that is uniquely designed so that it contains some specific information. A row, or often in the terms of databases, what is known as a record, is each individual entry in that particular table. For example, there are, let's say, 100 records in this particular customer table. So a record is nothing but one row in this particular table. On the other hand, a column is the particular feature that you are looking at. If you're looking at, let's say, customer ID, this is your column. Now, in this particular video, we will see what exactly is SQLite and what is SQLite3. How is it different from SQL Alchemy? Now, SQLite3 at the very start, let me explain, is a database engine, or in other words, it's kind of an actual implementation of a particular database. Whereas SQL Alchemy is slightly different and it's often confused with SQLite 3. But what SQL Alchemy is really is it's an object relational mapper or ORM.